This is the continuation of the broadcast that began on 9:20 GMT. And we're talking about the various aspects of policing. Has got a page completely and it says that as nation holds its breath before huge protest in capital on Armistice Day, PM tells marchers, respect our sacred ceremony. Now this is a pack of lies. And it's a piece by the Daily Mail's crime and security editor, Rebecca Kamba. Rishi Sunak pleaded for peace last night as the police launched the biggest security operation in Remembrance Weekend history. The Prime Minister issued a final appeal to the estimated 500,000 pro-Palestinian protesters and far-right counter-demonstrators. Now, this one is a new element. The addition of far-right counter-demonstrators is to give a boost to the fascists. The fascists, for whom the Daily Mail has become the house journal. And on page 2, the Daily Mail says that 2 MPs are threatening to quit if Rishi Sunak sacks Suella Fernandez. What a fucking stupid item that is. What difference does it make? If even 20 cons quit, it won't make any difference in terms of the numbers. Because the number of members of parliament in the current so-called current parliament is too many to be defeated by any opposition, even if all the opposition members of parliament combine. Let's see how many members of parliament there are. So you've got on the list 350 members of parliament for the Conservatives, SNP 43, Lib Dem 15, Sinn Féin 7, the Alba Party 2, Alliance Party 1, and the Speaker 1. The Labour Party has got 198. The Independents, they've got 18. The DUP have got 8, Plaid Cymru have got 3, and the Social Democratic and Labour Party have got 2. Green Party 1, the Reclaim Party 1. So 350 on the one hand, and all these little parties on the other. Even if 20 conservatives leave the conservative party discipline in alleged solidarity with Suella Ibila Cruella, the conservatives still would not lose a vote because all the other parties will not be uniting in opposing the conservatives. So, the demonstration that the supporters of Palestine are going to hold is not a demonstration that is being held against the Armistice Day. It is a demonstration against the continuing massacres by the Zionist state of Israel of Palestinian infants, babies, children, women, and men, mainly in Gaza, but in other parts of Palestine as well. So the entirety of the piece on the Daily Mail front page, which pegs the heading to alleged role by Rishi Sunak, saying that our sacred ceremony, absolute profanity. There is nothing sacred about being told not to demonstrate in solidarity with the people of Palestine. And the armistice, the word armistice, let's look at the word armistice. Armistice is the wrong word for the reactionary races to use against the Palestinian people. Exactly what demonstrate temporary stopping of open acts of warfare, agreement between the opponents. Only are the demonstrations the correct thing, but they are also morally in support of the principle of Armistice Day as well. So it's about 5 or 6-fold denial and contradiction and distortion by the Daily Mail. As it is a tenfold distortion of the facts and the purpose by Suella Cruella Fernandez. She is saying Suella Cruella, Ibila Fernandez is saying that the demonstrators are doing something wrong, which they are not. The demonstrators are asking for ceasefire as a beginning. How can that be wrong? And how can that be in contradiction with armistice? And why is the armistice of the 1940s, 1949, sacred, but the ceasefire demand of 2023 not sacred? That shows the evilness of the Daily Mail, the evilness of the Rupert Murdoch scum, and the evilness of all the others who are equally distorting. Tony Blair And the editorial in the Daily Mail says that the protesters for peace in Palestine are mocking our day of solemnity. How dared the lying Daily Mail use those words? the meeting inquiry into undercover policing. Let's check on the version that Private Eye has published on the meeting inquiry. Well, the piece in Private Eye, the current Private Eye, is headed Meeting Needle. This is very important. Bad news for my learned friends, as the Home Office has finally insisted that the inquiry into the spy cop scandal must end by 2026. A mere 11 years after it started examining how a Metropolitan Police undercover unit tricked women into sexual relationships to infiltrate left wing groups and justice campaigns. Retired Judge Sir John Meeting only managed to produce his first interim report this summer, 8 years after the undercover policing inquiry was set up in 2018, with an expectation of a final report 3 years later, which would be 2018. So that's 5 years after it was expected to have reported. The inquiry has so far spent, notice these ones, 70 million pounds, 70 million pounds. Think about that. Which means Meeting's 110-page interim report cost the taxpayer £636,000 per page. 600 per page. Meeting Needle, £70 million, £636,000 per page. And only covers the first spying period, that is 1968 into 1982. So 1982, the 41 years. So that it leaves 41 years of the undercover spying, policing operation to investigate it. So still, the inquiry has so far spent 70 million, which means meeting's 110-page interim report costs the taxpayer £636,000 per page. It only covers the first spying period from 1968 to 1982. There are 5 more stages and his 90 strong team of lawyers and the support staff. They should get together and start examining. The next 2 spying periods, 1982 to 1992 and 1992 to 2007, are crucial. Intelligence to and to blacklist trades unionists are still alive. Yet, under the current timetable, the first of the remaining hearings won't start before July 2024. The first set of hearings managed to sit for just 64 days in 8 years. So if you divide so 8 years, 365 days in a year, multiply by 8. So if it's 365 days a year, 8 years is 2,920 days. So if you've got 2,920 days, 2,920 days, 2,920 days minus, how many is it saying? 64 days. So you've got 2,856 days. It didn't. So that is way too corrupt a history of this inquiry, which is not an inquiry at all. It's a lie. So it says, of which only 29 days involved cops, spooks, and victims actually giving evidence, making opening and closing statements. That is 17 days. Or my learned friends for the Metropolitan Police, MI5, and other Home Office asking meeting to preserve the anonymity of undercover officers or withhold and redact documents. Days. One exasperated lawyer told the private eye, everything is a fight. We are moving at a snail's pace, but it finally looks like meeting position. As it is, that is the Home Office sponsors the inquiry, but also funded the undercover unit, which started life as Special Demonstration Squad and became the National Public Order Intelligence Unit. Suspicious minds wonder if the Home Office is now keen to keen on wrapping up the undercover policing inquiry as matters move closer to its officials and political masters. Well, where do you begin to decry and condemn this? Remember, this is part of the Baby Angel Geronimo essay that we are doing. Because everything that the DEFRA program of harassment, vilification, demonization, defamation of Baby Angel Geronimo has been about is really replicated in the common practices within the government departments, including, as this report about the meeting inquiry has shown, the behavior of the Metropolitan Police and other police forces in England. As Griffith said on the 29th of July 2021, that even facts and the evidence can be ignored by the Secretary of State. Griffiths didn't say under what law could the Secretary of State dismiss central evidence. And there was no derogation from any of the international treaties, agreements, declarations which require the strictest possible adherence to the primacy of ethics and evidence and quality. When the first kind of disagreements began to take form between Helen MacDonald, baby angel Geronimo's mom in South Gloucestershire, and the DEFRA criminals and their agencies about their claim, the DEFRA's claim, that baby angel Geronimo had tested positive. This was not true. And Helen MacDonald knew that this was not true. And back in New Zealand, where baby angel Geronimo was born and brought up by Leonie Walker, this could not have been true because Leonie Walker carried out or had baby angel Geronimo tested before baby angel Geronimo could travel to the UK or could and did travel to the UK. He tested negative. Now, when Helen MacDonald agreed in good faith to have baby angel Geronimo tested after he arrived in South Gloucestershire, he did not get a proper test. He did not get an independent, objective, scientifically independent and objective and correct test. The DEFRA liars subjected baby angel Geronimo to an incorrect and false fabricated test by first distorting his biology, by injecting chemical into the body of the baby angel Geronimo. That chemical would interfere seriously, strategically, and significantly with the body function and the body state. So, any so called test that could then be carried out would produce a misleading, a guaranteed false and misleading result, which it did. They interfered with the body that they were supposedly carrying out the test on to examine the state of the body. And the state of the body was completely and distorted by them ahead of the test. Now, the fact that they did that needs to be examined by looking at the number of layers involved in that kind of falsehood to be perpetrated. How many layers, how many agencies, how many units, how many individuals, how many so called experts on animal health were involved? So, if you take 100 people altogether at various stages, altogether involved in the so called test that was carried out on baby angel Geronimo after he arrived in the United Kingdom, you can see that all 100 were required to perpetrate each one of their stages, lying and denial and untruthful testimony. And all of them lied. Now that means that it is a matter of administrative, executive, bureaucratic culture of lying, as well as individuals who are making the decision to tell the lies, deciding to tell the lies. So the examination on baby angel Geronimo to determine whether he had any infection called the bovine tuberculosis, which was the main target of the inquiry, so called. It had to be assessed by checking each and every stage, each and every act carried out by each and every participant in the series of these activities. So, there is nothing in the published accounts, the ruling, published in the name of Griffiths, dated the 29th of July 2021, that this that did not account, that did not enlist the facts of each one of the participants' behavior at each of the stages. And they have not published what is stage before they all apparently agreed that the test was accurate. It wasn't. And in order to justify, to explain why the body, the biology of the baby angel Geronimo was interfered with ahead of the so called test, you need to have statement of each and every moment during the particular period leading up to the test and leading after the test. And there is no accountability. Just as the inquiry headed by John Meeting into the undercover, it has been left to John Meeting to decide what is right and what is wrong. what is correct and what is not correct, what is objectively in accordance with the rule of law, objectively in accordance with the due process, objectively in accordance with the constitutional, civil, democratic rights of each of the affected person targeted by the undercover policing, targeted for undercover sexual exploitation and abuse by the police. There is no evidence. There is absolutely no evidence that meeting is in the slightest concerned about the morality or immorality of the police actual organized rape, organized rapes of the women. Similarly, in the whole process of years of harassment that was carried out against baby angel Geronimo, there was no party, there was no independent source that could adjudicate on the rightness or the wrongness of the attitude, the outlook, the mentality of each of the participants in the organized process of lying against the truth of the health of the baby angel Geronimo. Baby angel Geronimo was the subject of hundreds of people, hundreds of actions by hundreds of people, while he remains in the perfect health, the most healthy state of health, the purest state of health. So, if we look at the statement that 41 years, 41 years of the behavior of the police, lying, mainly lying because the inquiry that was set up, appointed by Theresa May in 2015, the trigger was the news media belatedly publishing accounts that women were exploited. I would say that this, all the facts add up to the statement that they were subjected to organized program of rape by the police. And the fact that the private eye article refers to an exasperated lawyer who is only referring to meeting himself, possibly taking his finger out and doing something about it, shows that there is no other forum, no platform, no avenue, no route to seek the actual truth. If the inquiry, which is a kind of smokescreen, has told, which is what has happened in this case, the inquiry has told, so in order to get the action going, there has to be available, there has to be present one forum or another, one platform or another, which can be approached by the people seeking the truth. In the case of DEFRA, lying, the only place, the only avenue that Helen MacDonald baby angel Geronimo's mom in South Gloucestershire. The only one that she could actually seek to use intervention. But having seen the behavior of the judicial chair, Griffiths, and before him Murray, saying the same lots of lies, no guarantee, there was no sign whatsoever that Helen Macdonald would get to see or hear the truth about how they distorted the body. So you go to the alternative, the similar kind of comparable scenario. Take the case of take the case of the Home Secretary at the time, Sajid Javid, who removed the citizenship, the British citizenship by birth from Shamima Begum. And then years later, Shamima Begum manages to get a kind of sort of permission to apply to have that decision made by the Home Secretary overturned. Now, it turns out that Shamima Begum was never, ever a volunteer to go to Syria or anywhere. That agents of the Secret Service of Canada, with the knowledge of the British Secret Service, made the initiative, took the initiative, and targeted Shamima Begum, Hadiza Sultana, and Amira Abbasi. These three girls from the Bethnal Green School, secondary school. But looking at the British newspapers, the media, it would not be apparent that that is what happened. Looking at the media, they have decided without any evidence, without any facts, any proof whatsoever, that Shamima Begum was a terrorist, as were her two friends. Now, they have not produced any evidence that Shamima Begum committed any crime. And Shamima Begum cannot go to any authority other than to a British judicial contraption. So she was given the permission by the Court of Appeal to apply to get the permission to return to the United Kingdom so that she could personally attend a challenge in court to the decision made by the then Home Secretary taking away her this was the other attempt which has been just concluded in the last 3 weeks or so, and its outcome is awaited. I don't believe that this particular attempt by Shamima Begum would produce any result that would reverse the then Home Secretary's removal of Shamima Begum's British by birth citizenship. And the reason I say that is because the Supreme Court and any other part of the UK judicial system, so called system, is never going to do anything that is going to declare any action by the UK executive, that is the UK government, as being illegal. For example, the 2017 UK Supreme Court ruling that the Home Secretary of the time the Home Secretary at the time we'll come back to that one after a reconstruction of the scenario. Let me just check this one. When the when the children, the three girls, were first reported publicly, which is when I became aware of their existence, that happened through the media reporting in February 2015. And the first report that I saw of these girls said that they had crossed into Syria. It said that these three girls had crossed into Syria via Turkey. Until that particular report in February 2015, but it wasn't my duty to know about them as a member of the public in the community. It was the duty of the local council, Tower Hamlets Council. The local Tower Hamlets Council, like all the local councils, is funded to carry out a particular duty, to discharge a particular duty, what is called safeguarding children duty, which means that the local council is paid by UK central government and is given the legal power by the UK state to make sure are protected, safeguarding the children duty. Now, that is a short statement of the duty. If you expand on it, then every single movement, every single communication, every single act or activity that can be detected as having been connected with a comprehensive, cohesive program aimed at reaching a particular outcome. For example, the grooming of the Tower Hamlets Council has been wrong, legally wrong, has been behaving illegally, unlawfully, neglecting the safeguarding the children duties. So, if the council had been on the lookout, then it follows that logically and technically it would have been able to identify malafide contents, malcontents, activities that were now looking at the record of the Tower Council of the last, so the Tower Council's website, so there is no evidence. February 2015, and this is coming to February 2024, coming to nearly 9 years. In the 9 years that the girls were first reported, to my knowledge anyway, on television news programs in the United Kingdom in February 2015, up to now, the end of 2023, nearly 2024, that is almost 9 years, there has been no acknowledgement. Not only has the Tower Council not carried out its safeguarding duties to safeguard these girls, there has been no evidence that it had done any monitoring of the girls during the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years over which they must have been under the program by the former Canadian spy with the knowledge of the United Kingdom spying operations. So there is no evidence the Tower Hamlets Council has done the safeguarding duties. Similarly, there is no evidence that the police, the London Metropolitan Police, which is the police force that is relevant to the activities of those whoever was conducting the grooming, brainwashing of these three girls in the London Borough of Tower Hamlets. To this day, there is no evidence of the London Metropolitan Police making any statement as to whether they cared about the safeguarding the children duties owed to these girls by the London Borough of Tower Hamlets Council. There has been no report from the London Metropolitan Police, and of course, there has been no report by any other state agency that has referred to the safeguarding the children duties. Nor has there been any comment by the local Tower Hamlets Council or the UK government about the fact that the Tower Hamlets Council was legally under a duty to safeguard these children, and it failed or neglected, or it intentionally neglected to carry out their duty. We shall be continuing, of course, on all of these in due course. Now, today being Saturday, the 11th of September 2023, it is about the time, I think, that in parts of London and other big cities, the demonstrations are taking shape. We shall be observing the activities and shall cover and comment on what we have been able to access in the next editions. This particular part is 1 hour 9 minutes, and it's coming to an end at 11:48 hours GMT on Saturday, the 11th of November 2023.